John chapter 9, verse 11. It reads, he told them, the man they called Jesus made mud and spread it over my eyes and told me, go to the pool of Siloam and wash yourself. So I went and washed, and now I can see. I want to encourage your spirit this morning with the help of the Holy Spirit and preach a simple message this morning. I got it out the mud. I got it out the mud. You may be seated in his presence. I don't have a lot of time this morning, but I need you to go with me because I got to go fast. Can you do that? I'm almost ashamed to tell you about this quick story. I'm really embarrassed to share it with you right now, if I'm quite honest. But I want to take the road less traveled and put myself in the front of this message so you can see the joy at the end of the message. In roughly 2014, I was sitting in a parking lot at the barbershop. And while I was there, it was about 5:15 in the morning. Saturdays at that barbershop were for walk-ins. Couldn't schedule an appointment through the appointment app that these fancy barbers got now. And so I had to go and sit in the parking lot because the rule for Saturday was first come, first served. And I get up early so that I can get there and be the first one in the chair so I can be the first one home. I fell asleep in the car. I really don't know why it's funny. I fell asleep in the car, Granddad. And to my surprise, officer come to the window tapping with the flashlight. And woke me up and said, sir, are you okay? Also asked me, why are you in the parking lot? I said, well, it's a barbershop, and I'm waiting for it to open. So I've been here for a little while now. But my question in my mind for them was, why are you here? He asked for my license and registration, ladies and gentlemen. And as I noticed the second officer on the other side of the car, he returns back to my car and said, Mr. Murray? I said, oh, Lord. He said, do you know that you missed a court date? I said, no, you must be mistaken. Mom and Dad, please forgive me. I don't think I've told y'all this story. I said, you must be mistaken. Daddy, I love you. I said, I'm a junior. I said, are you sure you got the right Mack? He said, yes, I've got Mack Murray Jr. I said, okay. I said, but my court date for my speeding ticket is tomorrow. I'm Monday. And he said, no, you missed it yesterday. So he said, I need you to step out of the car. I said the same thing. I step out of the car, and as I step out of the car, he said, nobody's come to pick you up. Nobody's giving you a call. I said, absolutely not. I said, my understanding was my court date is on Monday. I didn't know that it was tomorrow. I didn't know that it was yesterday. So he says, I've got to do this, but you've been cooperative. I said, well, hold on before you do this. Is there any way that I could call in and take care of this real quick before you do what you got to do? And he said, no, sir. Unfortunately, it's not. I said, I got the money. He said, it ain't going to matter right now. We still got to go through this. I said, yes, sir. So he pats me down, and then he said, we're going to have to take you down to the jail. I said, I know you lying. He said, we're going to have to take you down to the jail, and you can talk with the magistrate there. I said, okay, all right. I ain't got no choice. But in my mind, I'm thinking, I got the money. We all got a phone. We can make the call. On top of that, I am the first one here right now. And I don't want to lose my spot. So he said, I'm going to take you down. You can get in the back of the car. I get in the back of the car. Then he stops and said, I got to take you out. I apologize. Because I got to put these cuffs on you. He said, but at least I'm going to do it in the front instead of the back like we normally do it. I said, that's cool. We ride to the jail. I get to the jail, talk to the magistrate, ladies and gentlemen, after I've already told this man that I got the money. We can make the call. And I don't want to be embarrassed by losing my spot because I need this haircut. Y'all laughing. But as a black male who's married, all we got is our line, our wife, and sports. I need this edge up. Get to the jail, I talk to the magistrate and pay what I need to pay, and they take me back. I've talked you guys through something that is difficult for all of us. Not just being arrested, not losing your spot in some line, but going through process. Going through process when you got what you feel like you need already. So now I'm trying to speed up the process, and we all know what process is like. Sometimes it can be long and drawn out. Sometimes it can be messy. Sometimes it can be uncomfortable. Processing. When you go to the doctor, you have some type of procedure, you have to go through processing. It was just Christmas last week, so we had to swipe our cards, and when you swipe your card, it says processing. And for many of us, we start sweating with that processing. While your credit card is on life support, you are hoping that at the end of the processing, I can get what I need. And so you can't rush the process. So this morning, I want to encourage us with process. Because when I'm insecure with God's timing, I interfere with God's schedule. When I feel like it's not happening fast enough, I tell God that you're not doing what you need to do for me fast enough. And so I put myself in the driver's seat, and I tell God to get in the back. Ladies and gentlemen, this morning, what I want you guys to take away from this message, if you take nothing else, is that your process will be muddy and messy. But if you endure it, you will find the joy of trusting God at the end of process. And so while we are dealing with the difficulty of process, I want to walk you through a couple things to help you understand what type of process is going to be. Can we do that? I don't need y'all to sit heavy on me. All right, can y'all help me? All right, number one, you got to be in prime position. Let's go to John chapter 9, verse 1. Verse 1 says, as Jesus was walking along he saw a man who had been blind from birth. All right. This man's position is pointing out to us that you have to be in prime position. His position was not random, ladies and gentlemen. He wasn't just at any intersection or at any stoplight. This man's position was more than likely in a place where he was close to the temple. And so his mindset was, wherever it is that I am, I've got to be intentional about it. And so in Jewish culture, you got to know that it was a normal thing for people who had afflictions or were beggars to go and position themselves at or close by the temple. Because the people of God just got done praising them. And they just gave an offering. So I know when they come out, they'll feel like giving. That's what they were dealing with in the Jewish culture. So this man, ladies and gentlemen, even though he was sitting there as a beggar, you have to realize that he had some type of faith. He was blind. He couldn't see, but he had his mind. He was blind. He couldn't see, but he had his mind. Prime position. If I put myself where I feel like I will receive my healing, I won't have to worry about anything going forward. So this man had to have some type of faith to be in this position, not knowing what day would be his day, but expecting that regardless of not knowing when, how, who, what, he knew that he had to be in the right where. All right, since y'all sitting heavy on me, I got to use my children. Can I do that? My youngest son's name is Judah. Judah has learned how to do what many of us in the house of God learn how to do. And that is develop this new type of Christianity called manipulative Christianity. Where I act any type of way or do whatever it is I want to do. But whenever it is that I'm asking for something or expecting something, you got to do it, and I don't have to do anything. So Judah comes to us when he wants Mack. For those of us who've been out of the game for a while, that's snacks. Judah comes to us and he starts whining. And he says, Mack, Mack, Mack. And he continues to repeat that. We tell him he's got to wait. He continues to say Mack. If he's not getting it fast enough, he now starts crying. We go in the kitchen and do whatever it is that we need to do, and we tell him to wait, but we look back and he's following us saying Mack, Mack. Judah has learned something that many of us have not learned. That if I want to get what I need from God, I got to be in prime position. And if I continue to repeat my request to God, at some point he's got to answer my prayer. So number one, I've got to be in prime position. Being in prime position, you have to accept the reality and be brave enough to accept the fact that you will have to deal with either reward or rejection. The blind man begged and was sitting in prime position and had to accept that all these people have come past me for years. I've accepted rejection for years. I don't know what day it's going to come. I don't know how it's coming. But if I continue to stay in the right, oh Lord. The fact that he was still there speaks to the fact that he has possibly endured rejection, but has more faith to overcome that rejection. So in verse 2, we'll see Jesus. So the disciples say, Rabbi. his disciples asked him, why was this man born blind? Was it because of his own sins or his parents? Y'all got a Bible and can read it? I said, do y'all got a Bible and can read it? Verse 2 says, Rabbi, his disciples asked him, why was this man born blind? Watch this. Was it because of his own sin or his parents? Now, maybe I'm slow. Was it because of his own? Why was this man born blind? But was it because of his own sins or his parents? If I'm born blind, somebody help me. There's some people in the medical field here. If I'm born blind, it's possible that I can't have sinned because that means I was blind before I was born. Does that make sense? Okay, let me. Before I came out, my eyes weren't working. Okay, I had to take the cookies off the bottom shelf and put it on your plate. So before I was born, my eyes weren't working. Okay, so how is it that the man can be born blind, and the reason he's blind is because of a sin that he's made? It's impossible. But yet we also got to deal with what raises in the text, and that is generational curses. Can we look at the disciples and discuss their priorities and how much their focus was off? For them to look at a man in need when you have been walking with the sent one. And whenever you see someone in need, after he said, what you do to the least of these, you do to me. How is it that I don't look at this man and see opportunity for God's glory? I try to put blame on something or someone. You got people in your life who do that. Job dealt with it, and you deal with it. I deal with it. People are trying to figure out, why is it your car messed up? Why is it you are dealing with such a hard time and you go to church every week? If I'm not mistaken, I see her in the videos and the reels on Instagram at City Church every week. And she's dealing with this? How is it? But when we are carnal with our thinking mind, we always try to find blame for something. But when we think with our spiritual minds, we see opportunity for God's power to be displayed. And so in their culture, it was believed that when someone had infirmity or affliction, it was because of sin. So now we get to verse 3 where Jesus responds. Jesus responds and says, it was not because of his sin or his parents, Jesus answered. This happened I love that LED screen, Pastor. This happened so that, all right, y'all gonna get with me before we get out of here. This happened so that someone would see the power of God in him. Verse 4 says, we must quickly carry out the task assigned to us by the one who sent us. The night is coming, and then no one can work. But while I am here in the world, I am the light of the world. What is Jesus talking about here? Jesus is trying to let us know that when he's in the picture helping us, it's impossible for you to walk away without receiving what you need. What makes light light is the presence of darkness. So now Jesus shows up, and what he's teaching the disciples is, I am the light of the world. That's really why I came. How is it I can come into the presence of this man if I'm the light of the world and he doesn't have some type of light? All right. So now this man has to have some type of change take place in his life. It's impossible, ladies and gentlemen, to meet Jesus and not meet change. I know it's become all too normal for us to come in the house of God and leave the same. For us to sit in the presence of the Holy Spirit and leave the same. For us to receive the message week in and day out and still leave the same. But we cannot continue to meet Jesus and not meet change. So number 2, we've got personalized process. Personalized process. John chapter 9, verse 6 and 7 says, then he spit on the ground, made mud with the saliva, and spread the mud over the blind man's eyes. He told him, go wash yourself in the pool of Siloam. Siloam means sent. So the man went and washed and came back seeing. Ladies and gentlemen, this reminds us that we all have some type of process. Can we break this down for a moment? Jesus spit, number 1. He made mud, number 2. He spread the mud over the man's eyes, number 3. He told him to go wash in the pool, number 4. That gives us, ladies and gentlemen, steps and stages. So while you're waiting on your miracle to take place, you have to realize that there are possibly steps and stages to your miracle, to your breakthrough, to your healing, to your change, to what's better for you. His process not only was personal, but it presented us the idea and concept that there are steps and stages. Can I walk you through this for a second? Because we lose interest in God when he doesn't meet our selfish expectations, when most of the time our expectations don't interest him. We have what we want in our mind fixed up, made the way we want it already, without asking God for his plan and his will. Right? So this man, before he could receive his sight, he has to go through steps and stages. What's interesting about this, ladies and gentlemen, is because there were a few things that have taken place where people have received their sight before this man. Can I walk you through it? Okay. Matthew chapter 9, verse 29 says that Jesus pulled up on some blind people and he touched them and they received their sight. Y'all ready? Matthew chapter 12, verse 22, Jesus pulls up on some more blind people and his presence was the medium of healing. Y'all ready? Mark chapter 8, verse 22. Jesus comes up on another blind man, spits on his eyes. Then that man had to go and wash and come back twice. That man was healed by spit. Mark chapter 10, blind Bartimaeus. Jesus runs into him, and his voice was the medium of healing. I got to go fast. My time is running. So there's one man that receives it by touch. There's another one that receives it by presence. There's another one that receives it by spit. There's another that receives it by voice. Yet in John 9, this man has received every single step that the others have already received. So why is he still having to go through process? Watch this. The man was touched by Jesus when Jesus put the mud on his eyes. Still not healed. Jesus was clearly in his presence when he told him to go to the pool of Siloam. So he had Jesus' presence and still not healed. That same spit from Mark 8 is now in John 9. That man has his touch. He has his presence. Now he's got the same spit and still ain't healed. Now that man now has to deal with the fact that Jesus has now spoken to him, so he has his voice as well. And he still ain't healed. This helps us understand that many of us go through processes, and even though we all go through a process, it might not be the same for all of us. So I want to encourage you this morning to let you know that some people might make your process seem small when it can be a miracle for you. Can I tell y'all how to do it? When they ask you, how did you get that? You tell them, when I had to go through this, I did that. I had to go and talk to this person. And they say stuff like, oh, yeah, I had to do the same thing. But actually, when I did it, I had to do this. And I had to do this differently. Don't belittle my blessing because you already got yours. I have a process I got to go through. You had a process you got to go through. God's too omni to repeat himself. All right. So we have to, can I take the cookies and put them on your plate again? How many of y'all watch American Idol? You ain't going to hell if you watch American Idol. Y'all, American Idol? Okay. Goodness gracious, this is the last Sunday of the year. We got to make it together. Y'all remember Fantasia? Right. And y'all remember Jennifer Hudson? Fantasia went on the show and won. Jennifer Hudson went on the show and lost. So that tells me that it's possible, because Jennifer Hudson and Fantasia are both equally as famous right now. When they're both of them went through a process, but it was different for both of them. And so while you're complaining about a closed door in your life because someone had an open one, you got to remember that God still is in the process. Yeah. So don't let people convince you that your miracle isn't a miracle because your miracle didn't happen like their miracle. If it was supposed to happen for me like it happened for you, we would have the same name. Verse 7 says, he told him, go wash in the pool of Siloam. Siloam means sent. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, your healing or your miracle comes like the toys with no batteries. The work is sold separately. This man had Jesus touch him. This man had Jesus' presence. This man had Jesus put the spit on his eyes. This man had Jesus' voice. But at the end of the day, this man still had something he had to do. It's a participatory blessing, where after Jesus does what he does, I got to do what I got to do. And number one, it's be obedient to his voice. When he tells you don't go, when he tells you to leave, when he tells you to stop, when he tells you to come. So the question, ladies and gentlemen, at this point isn't, do you have the faith to receive it? It's, are you willing to do the work? Imagine this man hindering his blessing because he told Jesus, well, you put the spit on my eyes. You clean it off. Now he's interfering with God's timing for his miracle. So now we have number 3, purposeful praise. Purposeful praise. John chapter 9, verse 3 says, it was not because of his sins or his parents' sins, Jesus answered. This happened so that we will be able to see the power of God in him. This man's new purpose, ladies and gentlemen, and it will be yours in the new year. Your new purpose is to show others the power of God in your life. It doesn't matter about your clothes. It doesn't matter about your house. It doesn't matter about your marriage. It doesn't matter about what you got. It doesn't matter about your promotion. It doesn't matter about your job. Can they see the power of God in all of that? Because the reality is there will be mud on you. There's a story of a man who had a neighbor that had a cow. And this cow kept mooing and irritating the man. He would also get out and get into this man's yard. Right? And so the neighbor said, I'm going to put an end to this cow. As soon as he comes back over here, it's going to be the end of him. And so, Christian, one day, the cow got out, came into the man's yard, gets stuck in a ditch. The man looks out his window and said, this is my shot. So he comes outside and gets a shovel. He gets a shovel and he starts throwing dirt on the cow. Y'all ready for what happened? Y'all know what the cow did? While the man was throwing all this dirt on the cow was shaking the dirt off and stomping it under his feet. And so before the man knew it, the cow was coming out the ditch. So ladies and gentlemen, there are going to be people that see how you get your blessing. And they're going to be throwing dirt on you because it didn't come like theirs came. But you got to continue to turn to your neighbor right now and tell them every now and then you might see me shaking. But it ain't because I'm trying to do the Harlem shake. I'm shaking off some dirt in my life. Some people are throwing dirt on my name, but some people are throwing lies on my name. But ladies and gentlemen, if you don't do nothing else, this is your way to get it out the mud. Keep shaking it off. That blessing is going to come by you shaking it off. That healing is going to come by you shaking it off. That miracle is going to come by you shaking it off. Slap somebody beside you and say, keep shaking.